This is a Union 15. No, here's what we got going, you guys. This is one of our local Ketchikan fishermen. This is one of the natives that lives on this island. They're allowed to fish here. This is their grounds. Now this is a gill netter, and it's a stern picker. You're going to see a reel on the back, or a drum, okay? They're going to have a net on that. Right now it's in the water. You can see those corks stretched out from the ferry dock all the way out here to his vessel. Now those corks are hanging a curtain underneath it with square meshes. That goes down 60 meshes to a lead line that goes along the bottom. It keeps that curtain down straight. What he's trying to do is stretch his net out from the shore to the middle of the bay. He's going to run back and forth with his boat, hoping that the salmon that are heading towards these rivers up here, looking for where they came out of to begin with years ago, he's trying to cut them off before they get to those rivers. They swim into those gill nets, those squares, and they get caught by their gills, okay? Now this is a drift gill net, meaning you can unhook from it and just let the net drift around. Sometimes they'll hang off one side of it, take a nap for a couple hours while that thing drifts around, and they'll run back and forth on that net. In case there's any fish just hanging out alongside it, it might scare them into the net. But this is one of our local Alaskan fishermen right there. Very cool.
And when the fish do actually start hitting in that net, you'll see those corks will start going down. And that's another thing he's doing while he's looking at the net. There's some spots where the corks are down. He just laid that net out right in front of us here. I have to go around there.
We might get to see him pull that later on. It's all up to them and what hours they're doing.
Look what I found! I'm so excited.
Hi, I'm Matthew.
And I'm Susan. Together we love to travel.
One of our favorite places to be
Is aboard a Norwegian ship at sea.
good food, drinks, and friends.
Make a relaxing trip indeed,
So come along with us.
as we let the sea set us free.
So in 2019, I decided I would come up here and see what he had going, and I did. And I came in, I told David, I've been working with the same 5 guys for 30 years. My vocabulary is down to about 30 words. And first thing he told me was there's 8 of them that I'm not allowed to use on here. Then he gave me the mic and sent me out in front of you people. I was terrified. I went the whole season. I worked most of 2019 right here where I'm standing. And I was petrified. I couldn't even sleep at night. I would come out here and I'd mumble through a few things, and then I would go over and run the block. And that was it. That was my job. I liked it when I got to feed the eagles because nobody bothered me. And then I came back up, and I don't even know why I came up this year because I knew I was dreading it. And I was here for about a week, and there was this little girl from Houston. Her name's Kennedy. She was 6 years old. This later in the show, and everybody's out milling around on deck. She's tugging on my rain pin. So I turned around, I bent down, and she just came up and gave me the biggest hug I've had since my kids were 6 years old. And the only reason I bring that up is because that did something. That hug kind of transformed me, and now when I'm standing here, I look out here and I see people. I don't see dread and fear. And so now I'm kind of getting to where I can start to talk to people. And it's changed everything about this whole job. I get up and I look forward to coming down here. And I thank you in advance because I appreciate what you do. I appreciate you taking time out of your vacation to come down here and see what we do. It is more interesting than I gave it credit. And that's about it. I just appreciate you guys coming.
Woohoo! Thank you guys. You need a hug? You guys ready to go crabbing? No, wait a minute. Are you guys ready to go crabbing? Okay, that makes us ready to go crabbing too. Let's see what we got. We've seen whales and birds and fish and man, Alaska overload. Fishermen. We need a bear riding a whale. Okay, we're in the block and the boiler, and you'll see these knots come through the block. Each one of those separates a different shot of line. A shot of line on this vessel is about 25 fathoms, 6 feet to a fathom, 150 feet. Here comes another knot. Bam, that was 150 feet while I just explained that. Awesome. Okay, that's kind of a funny looking pot though, isn't it? You may not have seen one of these before. Now, this is a cone pot or a dome pot. We're going to call them domers on this boat, or stackers. Here's the way they work. We're going to hang bait jars in there, okay? Those bait jars are going to have fresh fish in them. All those juices flow out of that bait jar. There's holes in it. These are scent-driven carnivores. They're going to come crawling for that. They come crawling up the side of that pot, just like that, and they fall in that tunnel right there and we got it, okay? Now the way we empty it, we pull what's called a pucker strap back here. It opens the whole bottom up, we spill the crab out, deal with them, set this off to the side, stack the next one on top of it, like cereal bowls in your kitchen cabinet. Let's say I can fit 4 of those big square king crab pots right here. I can fit 25 of those stacked in the same area. So it's about capacity. What do you got, Big D?
Well, what I have is box crabs, B-O-X. I think they're the coolest crabs that we catch. They're like little transformers. They're actually a pretty close relation to the king crab, but they're really hard to catch. They like it really deep and up against the rocks, and but they are fun. And I want to show you right now how you're going to hang on to them. You put a couple fingers down in their belly, put a thumb on the back, hold them like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
All right, I got another critter for you. There's 2 types of tanner crab. There's the bear dye and the apelio. This is the bear dye, okay? You're going to know these on the market as the Alaska snow crab. Now, you're going to grab them out here by their legs and let those claws hang down in the middle. We're going to drop the chains. I want you guys out here, those that can get out here on deck. Gals are going to bring some up to you guys if you don't want to come down. Let's go, guys. We want to share our crabs with you. That's not funny.
Oh my, look what Matthew's got. Oh golly. Box crab.
Okay, are we still having fun? Yeah! Good. People ask us all the time, how long can these crabs live out of water? And listen, we've done some research on this, and the answer is right up until they die. On a day like this, when it's kind of cold out, actually I can feel the heat, believe it or not. On a day like this, these guys may be a couple hours on deck. You get some moisture in the air, 40-degree day, 30-degree day, Bering Sea, whatever. These guys can scatter across the deck. You'll find them in a quarter a day later. 70-degree day, 15 minutes. Their gill plates lay down. They can't suck any air out of the atmosphere. Now you'll see Big D put some line up here for me. That keeps me separated from this pot. This pot's going over, 250 pounds going that way, 1,000,000 pounds of boat going this way. I don't want to be directly connected because I got to get this shot of line off the boat right away. This gives me a little bit of time to gather myself to make sure everything's right before I do that.
And when he does get this line off the boat, it actually makes for a pretty good picture. between the line and the buoy is pretty cool.
Stand by.
You guys ready?
Ready.
They are. Let her go. Pull it over.
Keeping your feet. That's right. Always.
All right.
You guys are crabbers. Now, these are the golden Alaskan king crab right here, okay? There's three types of commercially fished king crab in the state of Alaska. There's the blues, the reds, and there's these guys, the goldens, all right? Now you're gonna target their environment to catch them. The Bering Sea has those red king crab. They're gonna live the longest, about 18 years. They're gonna be the biggest. They're gonna hang out on a flat sandy bottom, about 42 fathoms deep, 6 feet to a fathom, okay? The blue king crab, they like less salinity in the water, so they're gonna look for freshwater outfall areas, and they're gonna like rocky ledges, okay? These guys are the hardest ones to catch. They like to start out on cliffs, 900 feet deep, going down way past a half-mile deep. Yeah, they're hard to catch, okay? Now, once you get them on the boat, you have to make sure that they are a male. You're gonna flip them over onto their back, and you're gonna look at that abdomen flap right there. You see how this comes to a point or a triangle? How that's a V right there? The female is gonna have a half circle, a complete half circle. This is a male. The boys are pointy, the girls are round. Now, the female is going to carry over 1 million eggs up underneath her flap, okay? When she goes to lay those, they're like little microscopic larvae, and they're just open to predators. Only 1/10 of 1% of those babies make it to mature crab. Now, the state of Alaska takes the retention of females very seriously. If we're in port and we pull a female out of that load, and there's an enforcement officer there, the first fine for that first female, 10 grand. Wow. Yeah, don't mess with the ladies. We need them making babies, right? That's what it comes down to. Now, once we, they do have to be a certain size to be on the boat. 6.5 inches across the back. If we have any question about whether that crab is big enough, we're going to grab one of these sticks right here. Inside the margin of that stick gives me 6.5 inches. As long as that touches spines inside there, that is a legal crab. Into the tank it goes. All right? Now, they have two different kinds of claws. On the right-hand side, 90% of the time is going to be that crusher claw. There's some little white pieces of ivory in there. They're in there to support that claw. If it didn't have them, it would crush its own claw when it goes to crush things. On that left-hand side, 90% of the time, is going to be that cutter claw. And it's going to take the pieces and feed it into its mouth where there's two more pieces of ivory. Their teeth, they chop sideways instead of up and down like ours. Now, these guys have an awesome ability, and they have a pretty tough opponent down there that likes to eat them. Mr. Octopus loves Mr. Crab. Let's say Mr. Octopus comes along and grabs him by a leg. He has the ability to eject that leg. It's called kicking a leg. This guy goes on living his life. Octopus gets a snack, right? And then when they molt, meaning they pull out of this shell to grow and build a new one, they can grow their legs back that they voluntarily kicked off. If I yank the leg off, that's an injury. That's not going to heal. But if they do it voluntarily, absolutely they can regenerate. It's pretty darn amazing. If you look at the face of that creature, and you think back to that Predator movie, remember all the Predator movies? That creature designer used the king crab as his design. And if you look at the face, boom, the Predator. And if you look at the claws, or at least these legs, those are the Predator's fingernails too. You'll be amazed next time you watch that movie. Now, I know I just loaded you with a ton of information about king crab, but I'll tell you what, if you need to know more, you need to Google it, just like I did. It's all information from the years, and also the Alaska Department of Fish and Game has a fantastic website that talks about all these fisheries that we're talking about today too. Now, we used to go out and catch 1,000 king crab right around this island at the beginning of the season. But because of the predators, we'd have them in this king crab pot, and the predators would just massacre our king crab. We'd go through those 1,000. Captain Dave put a chiller on the boat. We carry some with us. We store about 100 up in the head of the bay that we catch before the season. When we're done with these, we'll give them to the Fish and Game cops for Metlakatla. They'll go have a feast in the village with the elders. We're pretty happy about that. We'll throw 12 more in there and share them with you guys. Now, we couldn't pull this pot up empty, so Captain Dave had some stuff made up to keep your meal viewing pleasure. Kind of emulate what's going on in that pot on the bottom. Also, you'll see some colorful tags. Ignore the tags for now. It's a memorial pot. Captain Dave will come down after we're done with it, and he'll explain that side. But for now, you ready to go king crabbing? Yeah! There we go. Yeah. Now remember, if we had a bunch of live king crab in here, they'd be wadded up on the bottom of this door. And more often than not, I'd have 10 empty shells in there. You'd have 3 live crab. You'd have a 30-pound octopus in there going, hey man, it was like that when I got here. I don't know what's going on. No, it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. We were going through multiple crab every day, and it just wasn't that good for the product, right? So this let us set it up like it was fishing on the bottom. We've done a 24-hour test soak. Captain pulls this up. I've got riders on my side. They aren't even in the pot yet. That means it's actively fishing right now. Get this thing back in the water, add bait to it. We're fishing right here, okay? At 7.5 pounds a piece, at over $10 a pound, you get 50 in here. It's almost a $4,000 pot, you guys. That's some cha-ching right there.
All right, first thing I'm going to do is lower this thing down on the launcher. There's a couple of hooks down the bottom. I set it out there. Normally, if we were running, I just have a spot right in front of me to hang. Okay, my very next move, I have to put the dogs on this, and that's these hooks on the top of the launcher. That centers that pot and holds it tight to the launcher. Because then I'm going to pick this pot up. At this point, a couple of guys are going to wheel a table in right in here. 2 guys are going to unhook these straps, throw this door up on top. And then I'm going to do what they call the double action, which is get those crabs out. And the way I do that, I just stand it up. Now, when I stand it up and if I've got crabs in there, I'm going to be shaking this handle probably until everything falls out. You can only imagine, I've been standing there for 20 hours, get a little tired, get a little drifty, forget to put these hooks on just one time. You tip this up like this, bam, goes right where you're sitting, and it stops right where you're sitting, and it takes everything out in between. And I think just about everybody who's ever crabbed up there has seen it happen. You just try to limit it. It's just, you'll see people are always, especially when they're running the hydraulics, they're talking all the time, saying what they're going to do. Going down.
Going down. I was actually trained around a hydro guy to repeat what the hydro guy was saying. That way it's in your mind too. That's just me, I don't know. Now, we can fish for king crab with these if we have the door all the way open for these tunnels. If we want to go for the apelio or the bear dye, those snow crab, we shut this and tie it in place smaller, only the small crab can get in there. We'll cover up the big escapement mesh, which when we're king crabbing, helps the small females, which are typically smaller, and any small males get out before we even get the pot. But if we're switching to the snow crab, we drop this tanner panel right here into place. Now we're tight meshed, okay? Now, probably the most important thing ecologically I can tell you is we're going to cut an 18-inch wide hole in the side of these pots. We're going to sew that back together with a cotton biodegradable line. That way if this thing gets away from us, we don't want it to sit down there endlessly fishing, right? It's called ghost fishing. We need this spot to rot out, and it will somewhere after 30 days. That hole reappears, everything can escape, and it quits fishing down there, okay?
Coming down.
Coming down.